Hello. Welcome to this month's AARP New Jersey Fraud Friday Facebook Live. I'm Christine Burchino, a volunteer with AARP New Jersey, and today we continue our important discussions on fraud and scams happening right here in our state. During the pandemic, people relied on the internet more than ever to stay connected. With this increased use of the internet, there is a higher risk of scams, identity theft, security breaches, and other types of cybercrime. And meeting people and dating online is no exception. Today, Mark Batchelor joins us to discuss online romance scams. He is Vice President of Community-Based Programs at Cybercrime Support Network, a nonprofit organization created to meet the challenges facing individuals and small businesses affected by cybercrime. If you have a question for Mark, please type it into the comment section and we will do our best to get to it live. We're looking forward to a great conversation. Welcome, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on here. Thank you for having me on here and helping with your mission to help cybercrime victims.
Good, great. Before we talk about online romance scams, tell us about the Cybercrime Support Network.
Sure. We're a national private public nonprofit whose mission is to serve individuals and small businesses impacted by cybercrime. We do that mainly through our website, fightcybercrime.org, which is a national database of cybercrime resources to help people recognize, recover, and report after a cybercrime incident. But now we also have some community-based programs that are helping individuals directly who have been impacted. So we're proud of that.
Wow, it sounds like a great resource for the public.
Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about online romance scams. An AARP survey showed that more than 1 in 4 U.S. adults say they or someone they know has been either the target or the victim of this type of scam. What is an online romance scam, and have you seen a rise in these scams?
Yeah, an online romance scam is part of what's called an imposter scam, somebody pretending to be something they're not. And what happens is somebody, the bad actor, pretends to be a romantic interest or somebody who is making an emotional connection. And they do that with the victim in order to get something of value. Sometimes it's money, but other times it's property or information, something that will benefit them. And it is very common. Unfortunately, not enough people who have been impacted talk about it. A lot of times there's embarrassment involved or something else. So we want to do things like this to make sure people know and know that it's okay to talk.
Do you have stats on where the volume of romance scams or?
Absolutely. The IC3, which is the Internet Crime Complaint Center from the FBI, says that about 41% of their reporters are 50 above in age. However, when it comes to how much is lost, that number goes much higher for people age 60 and up. That's the number one. It's the number one cause of money loss in terms of romance scams is from that population. And in New Jersey, they rank number 7 in terms of dollars lost. So the older population has a lot more to lose there. It's also the second most popular search on our website last year because people are looking for information about how to combat this and how to recover.
Wow. The emotional toll and the monetary loss on the victims must be great. Mark, more than half of U.S. adults have used the internet to find new friends, dates, and or romantic partners. Are these scammers, are they going online because they see the opportunity to prey on people's emotions and successfully profit from it?
Yes, they go online because it works. There are more people there, therefore there's more opportunity. And people want a desire to connect. That's just the way we're wired as people. So it's not a flaw in our system. I think that's a good thing. But also the internet and social media has made us more open to connecting with strangers. And no more, back in the day, it was don't talk to strangers. Now, we kind of welcome that and expand our network. And COVID has made that worse. As we're in the house, we want to reach out somewhere, and online does that. some of the reasons that the scammers go after the older population is because of some of the good things about aging. We know that sometimes seniors can have a little bit more nest egg savings. They might have a second home, like a vacation property, or they just might have like 401ks or financial security, and that's really attractive to criminals. But also the unfortunate side of advanced age, there's confusion sometimes. Sometimes there's less of a support system for an older person. And so that makes them vulnerable and also an easy target for criminals. So we have to kind of guard against that.
Well, that's why you got to always make sure, family, friends support you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Before we move on, I want to remind our viewers that if you have a question for Mark, please type it into the comment section. Okay. Mark, what are the red flags of possible online romance scams?
There are several, and sometimes they're easy to catch, sometimes not. And as you get wrapped up in the emotion of a relationship, it's harder to detect because we see what we want to see sometimes. But very often the scammers are quick to profess their love. They'll make that connection with you and then jump right to love and intimacy. And then they'll want you to leave the site. If you're on a dating site that has maybe safeguards, they want to take you off of that and text you one-on-one or message you in some other way so that they can catch you off guard and make your emotions a little bit more vulnerable. Other things are if the picture looks like a model or like something that came from stock photo, you might want to do a reverse Google image search, put that image into Google and see where it came from. Unfortunately, one of the disgusting things people do is take pictures from our fallen soldiers and use them because people are responded to the military. And it's a disgusting thing, but often it works. The last thing is they promise to meet or they ask for money and they don't follow through on that. So they'll say, oh, I'd love to come out and meet you, but I don't have the money. Or I work overseas in the military or on a rig somewhere. And then they'll ask for money either to come see you or because somebody needs an operation, a family member needs an operation and they spent that money, so they can't come meet you. Can you send me money? And it starts off small and then it builds and builds.
Gosh, that sounds awful, the tactics that they use.
It is.
To do this. We have one comment from our audience, from Christina, who says that she is being scammed by someone overseas and they won't leave her alone.
Oh, no.
Does that happen often or?
It happens very often. The best thing you can do, and congratulations, you're recognizing this and are able to talk about it, so that's huge. The best thing to do is to not engage anymore. Block them from your social media channels. Don't answer calls if you had given them a personal number. And absolutely do not send money or gift cards. Just cut it off completely. You can go on frauds. That's our old site. It's fightcybercrime.org. And do a search for romance scams. And there are a lot of tips on there and resources for you to combat this and recognize more signs and then report it. Reporting is very important. And if you feel it, we also have a support group for people who have been involved in romance scams and want to talk to people who are in similar situations. And it's facilitated by a licensed counselor and it's all very private. So they can contact us for more information about something like that.
Yeah, that's a great resource from your organization. A question I have as you were going through the red flags, do the dating websites, do they have measures on their side that would identify, or do these scammers use the same website?
They do use the same websites, and the sites try their best, but there are just so many people doing so many things. Dating sites obviously are the most common,
right.
And then social media sites, because people who go on there are looking for a connection. So they're less likely to rebuff somebody coming, making contact with them. But then there's also things like shopping sites and gaming sites now that have social media components. Even something like a simple word game app on your phone
Right.
There are people you can play with on other countries, other parts of
Right.
the nation, and they'll make overtures that way and try to connect with you. There's a lot of ways in, and it's just being on guard. If you go to a website called scamspotter.org, which is one we set up with Google, there's also more signs of red flags you can learn there. And there's a little quiz so you can kind of test your knowledge about what is a scam, what's phishing, and what's not.
Okay. If someone does fall victim to a scam, where can the scam be reported to, and what resources are there for people who have been impacted by an online romance scam? You mentioned some of that to Christina's comments before.
Sure. Everybody who's been victimized by any type of online scam, whether it's excessive robocalls, all the way up to harassment, should report to the IC3. Like I said, that's ic3.gov. Because the more, even if you don't have much information, the FBI can use what kernels it has to build a case. And very often there might not be enough information on your personal case to make progress. But if they can combine that information and make a national arrest and make that work, that's very helpful to them. There are a lot of great resources out there and a lot of great agencies, just like AARP Fraud Watch. Often, though, it's very hard to tell where to go first, and if people try and get the wrong thing, they give up. And that's why we originally created fightcybercrime.org. All those resources are in one place. So if they're looking for Fraud Watch, they'll find it. If they're looking for the Better Business Bureau, they'll find it, or the FTC, because very often all these great resources go unused because people don't know where to look. Right.
What I've heard from other types of scams is that the likelihood of recovery of money, it's financial, money has been passed along. Recovery is not often. So is that the case for romance scams as well?
Unfortunately, it is. Sometimes it has to do with the sum of money. And quickness in reporting also makes a difference. If you report that to the FBI immediately, or law enforcement, they're more likely to be able to stop a wire transfer or to do something else. But as time goes by, or if you pay in something like gift cards, that's why you never pay anything by gift cards, because that's spent right away and you're never going to see that again. So unfortunately, it is low, but you should still report it just so it's on record and you can help somebody else down the line.
Right. Okay. Just see if there's any questions from the audience. Okay, just in the time that we have remaining, what other online scams are prevalent right now? For example, our Fraud Watch Network helpline is receiving a lot of calls concerning Facebook and Amazon scams. Can you tell us about those and any other ones that are out there right now?
Sure. I mentioned at the top of this imposter scams. That also includes things like government imposter scams and grandparent scams, since we're talking about, age 50 up. That includes a grandparent scam. Is if somebody calls and says, "Oh, your grandson's been hurt in an accident and we need money, or has been jailed and we need money to release him." Your instinct is to help somebody you love. So you're not thinking about, is this right or is this fishy? You just act, and they know that, and so that's part of the scam. Government imposter scams, of course, include things like Social Security and Medicare. They call and say, something's wrong, we need your information. Those agencies are never going to call you directly and ask for information. But as to Facebook and Amazon, online shopping scams are always hard, and those sites have so many people that it's hard to catch them all. Especially Facebook. I mean, there's a marketplace they have support groups, they have regular interaction. There's so many ways that somebody can come in and make that connection with you and build that trust on false grounds.
Yeah, the scams with Amazon and Facebook, it's online shopping, but they have potentially phony vendors, counterfeit products.
Yeah, one thing you can do with that is never pay directly through your personal account. I know, if you pay through PayPal, I know Amazon doesn't support that, but other sites do. If you pay through PayPal and they say, well, this happens on Facebook often, can you pay me through my personal because I don't want to pay the business fees?
Right.
Then that person often disappears if they're shady. If you go through, and then you broke the terms of service for PayPal, so you're not going to get that money back. So what happens, say, insist on paying through the business transaction or through something that you have recourse to get your money back, because phony sellers are on there. They look very real. Nowadays, they can just set up a site that looks very similar. I know somebody called a family member of mine who had Googled how to hook up Amazon Alexa and got a phony support site, and got on the phone and they tried to get past their firewall. So that's something that also is connected to these smart shopping sites that we have to be careful of.
Yeah, just have to be very careful. This brings to mind one member of my family. She rented a house on Craigslist, and she got there. The house is not for rental, so she lost the deposit. But that was scary. She reported to the police and such. But yeah, just have to be very careful. Yeah. Okay. Let me see if there's any questions, comments. Okay. All right. Mark, do you have any, as we wrap this up, Mark, do you have any last thoughts that you'd like to share with our viewers today about online romance scams or other scams that are out there?
Sure. Like I said, they're more prevalent than people think. So often, though, there's still this stigma attached to it. People think they're going to be laughed at, and that shouldn't happen. It shouldn't be stigmatized. So it's important to talk about it, because if your loved ones hear about what's happening from you, they're going to be there to support you 9 times out of 10. So to talk about that instead of pushing them away, because that's what the scammers try to do. They try to make you think they're the only ones. So go to your support systems. Check out CSN resources. We have a YouTube site, and there's another good video about romance scam tips there. And of course, AARP Fraud Watch is there to help as well. Cool.
All right, Mark, thank you so much for this informative discussion and for joining us to share tips, best practices, and resources to protect ourselves and our loved ones from fraud and scams. For our viewers, if you think you've been scammed, you can reach a trained volunteer at the AARP Fraud Watch Network helpline at 877-908-3360. Again, that's 877-908-3360. If you enjoyed the discussion today and would like to learn more about cybercrime, AARP New Jersey is hosting a virtual consumer fraud conference on Tuesday, August 10th from noon to 1 p.m. called Stay Safe from Cybercrime and Identity Theft. Say that 5 times. I'm sorry. Stay safe from cybercrime and identity theft. We will be joined at that fraud conference by former FBI agent and identity theft authority Jeff Lanza to learn how criminals tried to trick us, to steal our identities, and commit cyber fraud. You'll also hear from a panel of New Jersey fraud leaders. If you'd like to register, please visit aarp.org/NJFightsFraud. Again, that's aarp.org/NJFightsFraud. And I personally have seen Jeff Lanza's presentation, and it's excellent. And you'll learn some great tips on securing your devices and so many other things for yourself. We hope you learned something new today about how you can stay safe from fraud and scams. Thank you, and have a great day. And thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Christine.